I don't know if there's a more fickle group of people on the internet than gamers. They're always fighting about something. Whether it was the console wars back in the day, competition between games in the same genre like Halo versus Call of Duty, or arguing about a character's appearance and if they're hot enough. There's always some kind of argument or feud brewing in the gaming world. That's why when there's a movement with 99% of people behind it and you're on the opposite side of it, you're probably on the wrong side. Now, sure, gamers can have their heroic Reddit mod moment where they think they're the one person standing up to tell the truth, when in actuality, you're probably just an idiot. Although sometimes it takes a useful idiot to save something. Pirate Software became the original antagonist of the Stop Killing Games movement when it was first announced, nearly killing it in its entirety, a movement that didn't have much chance of success to begin with, but through an amazing play by Ross Scott, the man behind the movement, Asmongold from Temu, as people like to call him. No shade, by the way. Ross took the kid gloves off and used the newfound distaste for Pirate Software to give the movement a second wind and actually hit its goal of 1 million signatures. However, it's way too early to celebrate. We need to make sure this momentum goes way past the 1 million signature mark. Let's talk about how one man's ego killed a movement only to then later save it. But first, let's recap the Stop Killing Games saga, Pirate's role in the whole thing, and how this could not only change games, but even software in the future. For those who don't know, Stop Killing Games is a grassroots movement to stop the destruction of games. Many games these days, whether live service or DRM required, become unplayable as soon as the developer stops supporting them. This effectively robs customers of their purchase, leaving them unable to access those games. The argument from the companies: you never actually purchased the product, you merely bought a license to access it. You will own nothing and be happy. This is a shift that a lot of the market doesn't even realize has happened. Games were originally treated as a product purchase. You bought the game, you took it home, and it was yours forever. Or until your little brother snapped the CD, never to be played again. But the reality was, it was yours. When companies rolled out digital markets and live service games, this shifted to a license model. A ticket, if you will, to access the game temporarily. In my opinion, this is a very anti-consumer license that gives companies the final control over their game. If they choose to stop supporting it, it's gone forever. These licenses have gotten so egregious that some, like Blizzard with World of Warcraft, allows them to remove your access to the game at any point if they so choose. I think games becoming a license instead of a product was just a huge mistake in principle. I'm a fairly free market guy, and generally speaking, as long as something's not illegal or an immediate danger to anyone else, that the market should be able to thrive. But sometimes there are practices that are so predatory on the consumer for it that regulation does need to step in a little bit. For any absolute pure free market guys out there, look, we don't want houses collapsing on people. Like, we believe in some level of regulation. I don't want over-regulation, but like a little bit sometimes is necessary. By allowing companies to move in this direction, we've created a very anti-consumer market that extends beyond just games. Take Adobe, for example. You used to have a one-time purchase software where you could buy the Adobe Master Suite. CS5, CS6, doesn't matter. Once you bought it, or cracked it, it was yours forever. Even if Adobe decided to sunset it and stop rolling out patches, that original software was yours. Adobe could have gone bankrupt and you would have still had access to the Master Suite. Now, in the service model, you're locked behind a monthly or annual subscription in perpetuity. If Adobe goes under, so do their products, and there is no recourse for you. Is Adobe going to disappear anytime soon? Probably not, but I still think in practice this is unethical and predatory to the consumer. This issue is more prominent in gaming because there's now a growing list of games that can never be accessed again due to these practices, games that people have paid for. Before you say that there's no value in keeping them or asking who's gonna play them, enough people will. Even if it's just one person, you paid for it, so it's your right to play it. I still go back and play Ocarina of Time every couple years. It is one of my favorite games. I'd be heartbroken if it was gone, and it wouldn't be just losing the game, it would also feel like losing a piece of history. I grew up with these games. This shaped how I played games in the future. It's just tragic to think about it being gone. Like art, if you buy a painting and hang it on your house, the artist shouldn't have the right to walk in and take it off your wall just because they don't want to paint anymore. This has led to ongoing court cases like with Ubisoft and The Crew, where access was removed and it's being argued as unlawful. I hope we get a good ruling in that case, by the way. Ultimately, Stop Killing Games wants any company that makes games, live service or otherwise, to have an end-of-life plan to allow users to access that product in the future, even if official servers go offline. This is where Pirate Software comes in, and I'm going to do my best to kind of steelman him as much as possible. I don't want to be disingenuous in his approach, even if he might have been a little bit disingenuous himself. His concern is that in the open-ended language of the movement, it could force companies to host servers for live service games forever, or they would need to redesign online multiplayer games into local-based single-player games that don't require the internet. This, he argues, could bankrupt companies and kill the possibility of live service games in the future. No indie company would want to develop an online game if they're required to support it forever or redesign it from the ground up just to end of service. It doesn't make financial sense. He reframes the whole movement to focus on the problem of DRM, or digital rights management, the verification process that requires you to be online all the time to play a game, even if it's single player. The problem? He's just wrong. He's just wrong on all accounts, and he's arguing and getting hyper fixated on parts of it that are irrelevant and don't matter. We also need to keep in mind here that this is not a legally binding document. This is just a movement to get the government to do something. So his nitpicking of the specific language is already misplaced. But let's talk about what he's missing entirely. Nowhere is it stated that games need to be redesigned, only that they should remain accessible in some form. For example, in an MMO like World of Warcraft, it is unreasonable to think that the entire game would be completely redesigned to a single-player experience, or that something that is so server-side heavy would then be packaged into a single file to be run locally on your computer. But as of right now, if official servers go down, then the game is no longer supported. Consumers should have the option to host and play on their own private servers if they choose to, which was previously happening, but Blizzard has been shutting down. No rebalancing is required. It just allows the community to come together and support it themselves. DRM is a plague that needs to be removed, so he's not wrong there, but it doesn't address the movement in its entirety. If having an end of service plan is too much for companies to handle and doesn't financially make sense, then I think we need to rethink the model in its entirety. I'm tired of games being erased. A recent example from the gacha space is Tribe 9. From the minds behind Danganronpa, it was a really interesting game, an 8-bit overworld, arena-based combat, and a crazy baseball game mode with engaging story. Unfortunately, it didn't have the success a gacha game needs to be viable, and now it's gone forever. Poof! Never to be played again. Why are we okay with this? There was still plenty of players who loved this game, and there was a lot that could be learned from it. All that time, effort, and beauty put in by the team is just gone forever. Now, fortunately, we have made huge strides in the movement. After Pirate Software's initial attack on Stop Killing Games, it slowed the movement's momentum, but Ross Scott recently dropped a video shredding Pirate Software and all of his objections. I'd really suggest checking out his video in full to see it. He explains how he wasn't trying to taint the movement with drama before, so he didn't post about Pirate Software. But with the petition ending soon, he went for it. And it's a good thing he did. This started a whole new wave, a second win for the movement, with huge creators like Moist Critical talking about it again. He even tried to hash things out with Pirate Software and bring more clarity there. Josh Strife Hayes, a creator I really admire, even got involved trying to help him see the movement for what it is. But Pirate not only doubled, but tripled down on his stance. This man's ego knows no bounds. However, his ability to not back down only served as a lightning rod of attention, and it got people so mad that they couldn't help but rally around to right this wrong. You see, Ross in his original video was even skeptical that the EU petition would even succeed in the movement. Getting 1 million signatures is a monumental task, and was a long shot from the get-go. But it seems like Pirate Software's villain arc actually served to get more attention on it. More attention than I think the movement ever could have on its own. The internet loves having a villain to rally against. One key difference now compared to when the petition started is that Pirate Software had a lot of clout and was in the internet's good books, so people listened and moved on. But after multiple controversies like the OnlyFans hardcore WoW deaths, multiple ego trips, and Dr. K straight up calling him a narcissist in a conversation, let's just say a lot fewer people are willing to listen to him. But guys, I worked at Blizzard! Yeah, we know. I'm going to try and avoid some of the other personal attacks that people are making on him because I don't need to stoop to that level. But there are other reasons why people don't like the guy, but we're not going to talk about that here. The newfound distrust of Pirate led to a huge surge. And like I said earlier, I'm happy to say that we've hit the 1 million signature threshold. And as of the time of recording has reached 1.1 million signatures. But we can't stop. There's a high probability that many of the signatures that are on this petition are going to be invalidated, whether it be from overly excited Americans using a VPN, or people not filling out information correctly, or it not reaching the minimum in specific regions of the EU. There's going to be reasons that this still could fail. So we cannot stop. We cannot slow the momentum. So if you're EU based and you didn't fill out this petition yet and thinking it's fine because it reached the million, so I don't have to now, go and do it anyway. We need an overflow of signatures on this petition. I think minimum 1.2 to 1.3 if we really want to lock this in and make sure it's brought to the EU Parliament. I'm excited to see what could happen with this. This could bring some real change, because while this will only directly affect EU, the ripple effects of that are going to affect the greater market. This has previously before. The great example that people point to is having some kind of universal charge port with USB-C, and now Apple doesn't get to use their proprietary bullcrap, but also uses USB-C. Shout out to the EU for that one. EU does a lot of stupid things wrong. They do a lot of things that I really disagree with. But every now and then, some of the pro-consumer stuff that comes out of there, pretty positive. Hopefully, we can stop killing games and start saving them. So hey, shout out to Pirate Software. You were the villain that apparently the internet needed to make this happen. To the rest of you who are still here, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. That's gonna be it for this one. See you next time.